I want to talk about Afrobeats because I think as Afrobeats is becoming more popular and we're exporting Afrobeats to the world, I think what we do now is going to determine the future of Afrobeats. It will be very sad if Africans lose the essence of what Afrobeats is, of what it means to Nigerians, to Africans, and to Black people as a whole. And from the way things are going, it seems that that's the path that we're currently tread. Now, for the first time this year, the Grammys announced the first exclusively African category, which was Best African Music Performance. Before, we had been competing in the Best Global Music Performance and the Global Music Album category. So before the Grammys, there was a lot of publicity. Burna Boy was supposed to perform, and I think Davido did a number of interviews. The nominees for that category were Tyler for Water, Ashake Amapiano, Davido for Unavailable, I think Musa Keys as well for Unavailable, Burna Boy for City Boys, and Olamide for Amapiano, and Asta for Rush as well. To everyone's surprise, not just in Nigeria, but in the whole of Africa, like that Grammy went to Tyler. What has happened now is that the history of Africa has always been this history of slavery and colonialism and subjugation. And that's all we've ever known. That's what we're taught in schools. That's what we know as history. Till today, I think we're still teaching that Mungo Park discovered River Niger. And so what we've done now, what we've managed to do as a people is that we've created this form of music, right? That is separate from that history. That is brand new. That it has never existed before. But because we are so insecure as a people, we've gone to the white man and we've said, come and be the judge of who is doing our own music better. Before I even go on, I want you to realize that the recent events of the last few months has just shown that everything in this world is made up. I'm not even talking. Let's leave religion aside, whether you believe in God or in some other deity or some other supreme being. Let's leave that aside. Everything is made up. This existence that we're living in is someone else's fiction. Now the West is in decline. If you're paying attention to the news, you can see that the West is in disarray right now. They're scrambling about fighting wars. America has $33 trillion worth of debt. They are losing the formation of the BRICS alliance is challenging the American hegemony. And because Europe is tied at the hip to America and the whole financial system is centered around the US dollar, if America fails economically, politically, like the entire West goes with it. The world is shifting. Everything is shifting to the global north, to the global majority. And so much of what we think of as Western culture, let's even talk about music, was either inspired or was just outright stolen from either black people or from other people of color. Like when you look at the history of music, whether it's rap, whether it's hip hop, whether it's blues, whether it's folk, whether it's jazz, you will find that that history comes from either a single black person or from the culmination of the works of many black people. And the West has not been creative in a very long time. And it's very debatable how creative they have been in the past. If a lot of the history of music, let's even take music alone, is just culture that has been co-opted and attributed to white practitioners. Taylor Swift has won the Grammys 8 times. Like if you like Taylor Swift, that's your thing, that's fine. But if you have to give Taylor Swift a Grammy 8 times, I don't think there's a lot there. So what has happened is that we've created this culture, this thing like separate from our history, that always has a white man at the backdrop. We've created this thing entirely our own. If you can remember when Afrobeats was still finding his feet, we're trying to get collaborations from the West. We're even using Caucasian women, but like eventually Afrobeats became its thing, and we found our feet. So what we've done is that we've created this form of culture that is like just different from everything, that is brand new. And but because we are so insecure, we've gone to the white man and who said, "You be the judge of this." They gave that Grammy to Tyler, not because I'm not trying to I'm not trying to say Tyler is not a good musician. Fine, but if you look at that category, there's nobody that, even South Africans, there's nobody who believes that that Grammy was won by Tyler. Like Nigerians, Africans in general, are very influential around the world. I think in the next 30 years, they say 1 in 4 people is going to be black or it's going to be African. Nigerians are everywhere in business, in sports. If you pull up the NBA and you pull up the NFL, there are Nigerians everywhere. And so, because of the popularity of Afrobeats, what the Grammys has done is that they've given it to the racially ambiguous girl. Now, I'm not trying to deny Tyler's heritage, but I think she calls herself colored. So that's, I think, a mix of Asian, Caucasian, and African. But they've given it in that category that had almost all Nigerians and I think 2 South Africans. Musaki is South African. They've given it to Tyler, the racially ambiguous girl, because everyone gets to claim her. Yeah, trying to humiliate Nigerians basically, and to cut us down to size by using their institutions to say you're not even good. You're not even the people who do your form of music better. The form of music you invented. You're not the ones who do it well. It's someone who has this mixed influence. Let me put it like that. I want Nigerians to understand something, that everything we see in this world is made up. Every single thing. Like all these awards, they're all made up. They are only as important as how we as a people make them important. So I'm not even just talking about the Grammys. I'm talking about the Booker Prize for literature. I'm talking about the Pulitzer. I'm talking about the Grammys, the Oscars. I'm talking about the Emmys. Like it's all made up, and it's all meant to push a certain narrative and to set hierarchies in the world. The fact that they've done it for a long time doesn't change the fact that it's still all made up. And all the prestige it has today is just down to marketing. Basically, it's just a bunch of people with a lot of money who are just picking winners in categories they have little understanding about, to be honest. Now, this gets me to the part of where I start to get worried about the future direction of Afrobeats. See, a few weeks ago, I think a few weeks after the Grammys, it was announced that Don Jazzy had sold the controlling stake of Mavin Records for about $150 million. $150 million. I think my people are just asleep. Africans are just really asleep. Now, I want to give you a few reasons why this is such a terrible idea. First of all, it's just a stupid transaction. $150 million for controlling stakes in Mavin. Mavin, who is one of our foundational music houses. Like Afrobeats as an industry is easily worth 100, 200, 300, 400, half $1 trillion in the next 10 years if it continues on this trajectory. Easily. And you've sold it for $150 million. This is like the story of Victoria's Secret and the guy who sold it and eventually jumped off a bridge. Like it's so short-sighted, it's just insane. The second reason why this is a very stupid transaction is that, correct me if I'm wrong, if someone has bought the controlling stakes to a media house, that means they own all the original copies, they own the masters. If I'm wrong, someone correct me in the comments. But this is in perpetuity. We're talking about streaming rights, we're talking about album sales, we're talking about concerts, like we're talking about jingles, we're talking about licensing for movies. In perpetuity. Like this is the same trap that Michael Jackson was trying to get out of. That Taylor Swift has been fighting with Scooter Braun for eternity to get out of. And Nigerians are just pretending they're not part of this global cultural system, and they're just not paying attention to it. Like in perpetuity, like one artist on Mavin is probably worth that $150 million. His body of work, his all future earnings, probably worth that $150 million. And I've sold the entire Mavin. because controlling stakes, whatever that means. It means that they are the biggest shareholders. If not that they have 51%, it means that they are the biggest shareholders and they call the shots. The third reason I want to talk about why this was such a bad idea, it goes back to my point that everything in the world is really just made up. If you've been watching the media and the things that have been happening in the Middle East, you'll see that the media is just complicit. That all Western media is basically just propaganda. Everything they warned us about in Big Brother is just what they were doing. Like they can't even talk everything. They can't even talk about the true nature of what's going on in the Middle East. That this is a colonial occupation. Everything is a fiction. This is why America has been to cosplay as the peacemaker in the world, when in truth it has actually been behind almost every major conflict or unrest that has been happening in all the countries in the world. So I think Black Americans in the States, they are going through a cultural realization where they're trying to understand how is it that their music that started from conscious rap, like that, how hip hop morphed from this conscious idea of liberation and struggle of the black people, how it eventually degenerated into gangster rap, where it's just about drug dealings and getting your money. And this has happened because foreigners started to buy up their masters. Foreigners owned the big studios and started um, exercising creative authority over the music. No, you can't say um, the police, but you can sing about drugs in your community. So if you want a people to be degenerate, to appear degenerate, and not able to govern themselves, what do? You buy their music and you pump it out through the airwaves. See, I like Odumodu Black, but when Odumodu Black says things like that man with my pumpy, like like Nigerians don't have firearms. Like this is not a line that resonates with any Nigerian, like like at all. Like it doesn't. So now that if we start selling all our music houses, we sell some to Sony, we sell some to Def Jam, we sell some to Universal Music Group. Are they going to encourage music that will bring that will brand the black man in this positive light? Like someone who's singing about conscious things, about love, about liberation, about equality. Or do you think they will want to push a narrative in our music? Like I'm not saying that that's what Odomodu Black is doing, but I'm just saying that that's how this thing starts seeping into our culture. One of my best songs in Afrobeats is, I would say, it's Common Person by Burna Boy. Like it just shows the humanity of everybody. Like to me, it feels like it's such a socialist anthem because it shows that it explains how everybody is not the sum total of what they own or what they do for work, but that we all have our contributions to society, and that we are all important in what we bring to society in this rich tapestry of our culture. If a white man now controls the narrative of what our music is, they will be making music like this anymore. The fourth point I think I want to make is just the economics and the wealth transfer. Now the world, America basically, has set up this. The global system is one of neocolonialism. If we think that colonialism has ended, it hasn't really ended. There's a system of neocolonialism that uses financial institutions and soft power and sometimes outright military might to ensure that all the wealth is consistently going from the south to the north. I think I'll make a separate video about that. Now, with the system set up like this, there's no way the global south can develop if we are always repatriating our funds. Now think about people taking over our music industry, something that's set to become such a high earner, something that was culturally ours, that we invested in and kept all the rights to. And then some people are now coming to take a chunk just at the point where it's about to take off. Now every concert ticket you buy, every stream, every album you buy, every merchandise that you buy, a portion of it is being repatriated from the global south to the global north. Poor Nigerians who are spending their hard-earned money to make sure that we can support our own. This beautiful thing that we've created. Now, a great portion of that money is being repatriated again to the global north. Bringing me to my fifth point, we will yield enormous cultural power if we start selling off our institutions. The institutions that we respect today, the Grammys, the Oscars, the Emmys, their authority is not divine. Do you get? It's over time they've built cultural power. It's by brainwashing, it's by pumping it through MTV and through satellite TV, through their entertainment and their media that we've come to hold these institutions up. With the trajectory of the world, if we hold on to our cultural spaces, our music, our movies, our literature, our art, if we hold on to our authenticity and ownership of our cultural spaces, in the next 10 years, who is to say that Headies will not give awards for the best country music, for the best bluegrass music, for best rock and roll music? Who is to say that our Nollywood industry will not be given best international film awards? That Caucasians and the rest of the world will not be coming to Nigeria to receive awards if we if we hold our cultural power and build up the reputation of our institutions. But when you start selling portions of these foundational institutions, they will always make our institutions to be subservient to theirs. If we want to invest in our awards, they'll say no, the Grammys are okay. They won't fund it because all the money is going to them. Like, this is how the world works, guys. Now, lastly, the last point I want to make is that just the idea of it, that this everyone thinks that when they talk about the black man who is selling out the white man, then selling out his people to the white man, they always think it's just like, oh, maybe like the house Negro, or the man on the coast who sold some slaves for some trinkets, which was really just people trying to save their villages and just probably selling people from the other villages. But that's another discussion. We've just sold our culture. Like, for a long time, and black Americans have been carrying the cultural space in America. And the Caucasians have just been, I'm sorry to be so black and white, but the Caucasians have just, people who are not black have been reaping the benefits of their cultural achievements. But Africans just feel like this doesn't apply to them. Like, this is not something we should be wary of. Like, just on a genetic level, it's just offensive that now again, after all we've gone through, and we've finally discovered something, created something that's our own, again, or a group of white people are going to be calling the shots and determining the direction it takes going into the future. Now, I don't know. I don't think this is a trend that we should really encourage, to be honest. I do not think so. And I think we need to send a strong message to the music houses, to all these our cultural spaces, and say that if, like, we will boycott every studio or every house that sells a controlling stake of our institutions to a foreigner. Like, if Don Jazzy really wanted to make money, there's no reason why he couldn't have floated like an LLC, you know? Float the LLC and say, oh, this Nigerians come and invest. Or you can even float a part of the company on New York Stock Exchange and say, okay, I'm going to sell 10, 15% or 20% of this thing to multiple institutional investors overseas who are not African or who are not black people, right? And because it's a small percentage, he can determine the price of that while keeping the majority of the shares to black ownership. Like, there's so many ways he could have raised money. To conclude, I just think I don't. For me, I'm just making a deliberate effort now to just not be streaming any Mavin content anymore because we've just gone through too much to be supporting our black brothers and sisters in our culture, and for that money to be going to the white man. We have to send a clear message about this. We really do. Africans, we need to wake up.